and sunshine, rocking the good time with all our friends. Easy and carefree, out in the summer breeze, loving a simple thanks for hours on end. Right about sundown, we lay on the ground, count on the stars as they come out one at a time. Ain't this a sweet life?
Hey everybody, I'm X Factor winner Tate Stevens, and welcome to the Sweet Life Podcast, where we talk about everything from music, sports, food, entertainment, and, well, just living the sweet life. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in today, episode number 3. Today, AJ, listen, I have this huge place in my love for music, for bands, right?
Yeah.
Going back, and not just country, all genres I love bands. Bands are, REO Speedwagon, Journey, those kind of things.
Sure.
You know what I mean? In that world, and then you come into the country world, you go Alabama, obviously. Then you talk about people like the Statler Brothers, the Oak Ridge Boys, but more so for me, the Statler Brothers. I think growing up, listening to Statler Brothers music, my dad was a huge Statler Brothers fan. And so having that playing all the time in the car, at home, whatever, just listening to the harmony and there's something about harmony for me. Even when I go out in our shows, I want harmony. I don't, it just to hear a guy sing is okay, or a girl sing, it's okay. But, when you put some harmony parts in there, it builds it so much bigger. It makes it stronger, and it kind of gets points across better. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like layering guitars or drum. A tom, just hitting one tom sometimes is more powerful than doing some cool big old roll down the tom. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think harmony is that way for vocals. I think the more harmony sometimes it's needed, and obviously not sometimes, but for me, listening to bands and like I said, the Statler Brothers, it's one of those things, you hear it and you're like, oh my God, it sounds to me, it brings me back to when I was a young kid, and then it's one of those things when you hear a Statler Brothers song, you don't have to hear it for 20 years.
Right.
And then as soon as it comes on, you sing it. Mm-hmm. It's just that it's like muscle memory kind of thing. That's what their music has been for me forever, as far back as I can remember. But talking about the Statler Brothers, today we have Jimmy Fortune from the Statler Brothers, the Country Music Hall of Fame. Statler Brothers, I mean, they're in the Hall of Fame. They've won so many Grammys and awards and Entertainers of the Year, I think, Vocal Group of the Year 100 times. I mean, it's just the awards are stack up and, from the floor to the ceiling for those guys and their music and what they've done in country music and gospel music too. I mean, way back,
even before
country, it was gospel, and so it's crazy that to get to know somebody from that world and who has seen that life and who's been a part of something as great as the Statler Brothers, like Jimmy Fortune has, and getting to know Jimmy a little bit over the last 7-8 years, man, it's amazing how nice of a person he is, and how respectful and how humble he is. So I'm a songwriter, like, we all try to be songwriters, right? And I know I'm a terrible songwriter. But how would you like it if you just said, hey, I'm going to write a song today, and you write a song, and then you take it to the band you're in, and they say, sure, we'll record it, and it's a number 1 hit, and you win Song of the Year for your song you wrote by yourself, all by yourself, the very first one. And then you write another one all by yourself, and it's another number 1 hit and another Song of the Year, and you get Writer of the Year awards and win. What? How does that even happen? I write songs. I'll write a song, And I'm like, I don't even want anybody listening to it because it's terrible. You know what I mean? And so Jimmy Fortune, oh my God. And okay, so talk about the songwriting, and we'll let him talk about that too today. But singing,
he's a maniac.
It's like, how are you that good?
Yeah.
From the time you're 19 to you're 65.
Yeah.
I don't know how old Jimmy is. I mean, he's 60 something, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
But
well,
how old, I mean.
Well, I was born in 83. He started singing with the Statlers in 82.
Right.
So as long as I've been alive, he sounded the exact same.
Know. That's what I'm saying. How does how does your voice singing that many shows? They did a ton of shows. They toured a ton. And then they had their TV show too, where it was every day, they're doing a television show and touring on top of it. When they weren't doing the TV thing, they were touring. So how do you keep your voice and sing that high?
Yeah, and it's happened to everybody. Like everybody's, they age 30 years, their voice is going to deteriorate a little bit.
But
not his. His sounds exactly the
that's what I'm saying. How does that work? And here's the thing, and I'm sure it's effortless. If you ever watch Jimmy, listen to him or watch him sing, it's effortless. The things that he does, the way it's just like breathing for him. And I truly believe that people are put here to do certain things, and he was put here to be a singer and sing and write songs and just be an amazing person. But it's funny just how good he is still today.
Yeah.
From when he started to today, it's the same. It hasn't changed.
changed.
I mean, you would think, you can drop it a half step. Nope. In fact, let's bump it up a little bit. It's not really that hard. You know what I mean?
Let's sing it even higher.
Yeah. So we are here with my buddy, Mr. Jimmy Fortune, legendary. I'm gonna say legendary because if you're legend, that means it's past tense. But if you're legendary, you're still going and things are still happening. So this man
and the dairy part is when you're milking it for all it's worth. Yeah,
okay. All right. Legendary. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mr. Jimmy Fortune of the world famous, world renowned Statler Brothers. And so Mr. Fortune, how are we today?
I'm doing good, Tate. I'm a big fan of yours, by the way, by golly. One of the best singers on the planet. And and I appreciate you having me on. Thank you, brother. I really am honored to get on the show with you.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're busy. You guys got a lot going on. So let's start, man. Let's let these people know a little bit about Jimmy Fortune. So we're gonna start like why and what made you want to get into music. What was that as a kid? What were you doing?
As far back as I can remember, my family sang. I'm number 7 of 9 children, and we sang as kids growing up in church and things like that with my dad and my mom from time to time. I thought everybody could sing. I thought you walked, talked, ate, ran, whatever, and everybody sang too. I was 6 years old. I found out that wasn't true. At church one Sunday, this man came in standing next to me, started singing. And I'm like, what in the world's wrong with him? My mom says, son, you have a talent, and then God's given you that talent to sing. Everybody doesn't have that talent. So that's when I realized that singing was a talent and a gift from God, I found an old guitar in a dump near my house because we were so poor, and honest to God, we were so poor I couldn't afford to buy an instrument.
Okay.
And a dump near my house, an old guitar that had 2 strings on it and was actually a little plastic guitar. I took it home and I started playing, little songs on it, like just on those 2 strings. I had that guitar for about 4 years. And mom and dad, when I was 12 years old, Christmas 1967, scraped up enough money to buy me an old Harmony guitar for $52 that was too much rent and groceries for 9 kids and mom and dad.
Oh, man.
And they got that guitar for me for Christmas. And I got it that year, and I held on to that. I saw it next to the Christmas tree sitting on the couch. I ran over and grabbed it. I said, if I can learn to play and sing at the same time, Daddy, I'm going to make a living at this. And he said, boy, are you crazy? You said you can't make a living playing music. He said, why do you think they called it playing?
Wow.
So I didn't take his word for it. I just kept trying and trying and trying, playing every chance I could.
Right.
PTA meetings, and the first gig we had was a PTA meeting at elementary school. It was 4 of us, me and my buddies, put together a little band, 13 years old, made $1 a piece.
Nice.
And I told my daddy I'm on my way. That's when I really realized that I was somehow going to be making my living playing music. That was my whole idea. That's what got me started, got me hooked.
Right.
And I wound up playing clubs back in Virginia for a lot of years. 4 nights a week, 6 nights a week, 4 hours a night, year after year after year.
Yes, sir.
Until I was 26, and the Statler Brothers hired me in 1982. It was temporary, come in, fill in for Lou DeWitt. And, I'm just trying to make a lot of long stories short because there's so many stories to tell.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm writing a book, matter of fact, it's called Untold Fortune, that'll have all these stories in it.
Okay, good. Very good.
So I'm thinking people would like to hear that. But that's when I became one of the Statler Brothers in 1982 because Lou DeWitt suffered from Crohn's disease. And he wrote Flowers on the Wall, many other songs. Mm-hmm. And that brought me to that point. And it is quite a story. It's a lot of God things have happened in my life.
Sure.
And all through it all, from the start till even now.
Okay,
there's so many things.
So let me ask you this. So we'll back up just a little bit. So as a kid, you're playing, you got your buddies, you're 13 years old playing your little PTA things. High school comes, you're still playing music. Are you writing at this time? Are you writing your own music? Or are you just kind of playing what's popular? And what kind of music were you doing? Were you doing bluegrass? Were you doing country music? Were you doing rock music? Or kind of a mixture of all of it?
Well, at first, when I got the guitar, I didn't know any songs. I knew some gospel things, but I did start making up little songs on my guitar, like just playing melodies and stuff like that. I didn't know what I was doing. I just didn't know. I was switching chords and just kind of doing things like that. Okay. But then I started, Daddy started getting me some music. He got me Charlie Pride. He got Glenn Campbell. There was a couple of first albums that he brought home. And because he finally got an old stereo, like one of those old floor model stereos that had an 8-track tape player in it that actually recorded. I thought I had a recording studio, really. I was so happy. And he brought home those Charlie Pride records because before that, he had been taking me to my aunt's restaurant who had a jukebox, and he was putting nickels in the jukebox for me to learn these songs off of. He'd get me to write the songs. He said, now you got to write these words down fast because I'm running out of nickels, so that's how and wow. So I was learning these songs, and then finally he got some albums and he brought them home for me, and I started learning some of those songs. And it was Charlie Pride, it was Hank Williams, it was Glenn Campbell, anybody like that. And of course, I was listening to some of my songs that my sisters were doing. Some of those songs like the Beach Boys and all the pop stuff back in the day. But what really got me was when somebody brought me a cassette, and it was about 1969, which I'd been playing a couple of years. And I didn't know who it was, but it was the Eagles, and Peaceful Easy Feeling was on that first album that they put out.
Right.
And there was no writing on it or nothing. Somebody gave it to me and said, hey, listen to this. And boy, I was hooked. It was the Eagles. I didn't even know who it was, but I started learning those songs. And then I just fell in love with that kind of thing.
Right.
And so I wasn't hooked on any one thing. I just loved music. Mm-hmm. I didn't care. To me, it was two kinds of music, good and bad.
Right.
If I didn't like it, I didn't like it. But if I liked it, I didn't care what it was. I was going to try to do it, and I was going to try to learn from it. I was kind of what I call a jack of all trades, master of none, really, because I just love so many different things, and I'm so, ADD, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
That
I get it.
I couldn't settle in on one thing, so I just did a lot of different things. And I loved harmony singing. I loved to sing harmony more than I did anything.
Really?
And then I tried to play my guitar. I wasn't a great guitar player, but I did learn enough to just play along with myself and try to accompany myself.
Right. And
to be a rhythm player in bands, because there were always lead guitar players out there that wanted to play, and I was willing to let them because, I liked rhythm and I liked backup singing, and that's kind of what was my forte.
Right.
But anyway, as time went on, I got into clubs. We got to doing cover music, what I call.
Sure.
And so I wasn't writing in any of this time. I was learning other people's songs.
Right.
And so I'm going through the clubs and doing the club thing, and like I said, 6 nights a week, 4 hours a night, and so I was enjoying it. I went through all the pop music top 40. I was doing disco. We had a 9-piece disco band, rock band,
Wow.
cover music. I mean, we were doing the Bee Gees, we were doing Kool and the Gang, we were doing Michael Jackson. We're doing everything, and we had some really good bands. It was just a lot of fun. I mean, I just was having a ball going through the disco era when all the dancers were hitting the floors and doing all the dancing and stuff. And I mean, it was really cool. We had an Elvis show that we did because Elvis had passed away in 1977, and we were doing his life story, and then we would go into after his life story. My cousin Dee Dee was Elvis, and he had the suit and everything. I mean, he had it all. And when we would do his life, I would start out and do his. I was doing his life story in the beginning, and like in the songs that he was starting to learn and do, and some of his first recordings.
Yeah.
And then we would stop everything. The lights would go down, and then we'd start this thing, ladies and gentlemen, and start this da 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 da, and the lights would hit this. It was a big Sheraton Inn where we were playing at. The lights would hit this door, and Dee Dee, my cousin, would come through that door. And man, the women, you couldn't hold them back. The first night, they almost ripped all of his clothes off before he hit the stage. It scared him so bad. It scared all of us. I mean, we were like, oh my God. And I mean, we were up there playing and narrating Elvis's story and telling all about it. And Dee Dee came off the stage that night. He said, I don't want to do this anymore. He said, I don't want to do this. And we were like, well, what do you mean, man? We made all kinds of money tonight. He said, I'm not Elvis Presley, and I ain't never going to be.
So you were really, we just found out that Jimmy Fortune might have had the first Elvis tribute band ever. Huh?
It was,
awesome.
And it was exciting. And then after we finished that night, we go into our set of, our disco stuff, our rock, pop stuff, and it was a really pretty good thing we had going. But anyway, I did that for years, different bands. I had a Southern rock band. I had a rockabilly band. I had the pop top 40 band. I had all these different things that I was getting into and just having an absolute ball.
Right.
But I had written a song before I was with the Statler Brothers. And I guess I never had a reason. I went to Harold, Phil, and Don after they joined the Statler Brothers. I knew that Lou wrote songs like Flowers on the Wall, many other songs. And I said, if I write a song, would you guys record it? And Harold looked at me and he said, well, little buddy, yeah, we'll record one of your songs that you write if it's good enough.
Wow.
And I thought, well, what more of an honest answer could you give? So I literally took him to Elizabeth the next day.
And tell us, you got to tell. So you told me this story, so this is crazy. You've never written a song. This is your first attempt at a songwriting, and you were in a hotel room, right? If I remember right, you were in the hotel room. So you go ask Harold and, hey guys, if I write a song, will you record it? And they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure we will, but it's got to be good. So you go into your hotel room, and what happens?
Well, before that I had a melody in my head that I kind of knew that was a good melody and everything. I was looking for some words to go with it. Before we get to, we're leaving for Tulsa, Oklahoma before that. And Oklahoma City to do a couple concerts that weekend. And on the way there, I'm hearing this name over and over in my head, Elizabeth, the here and there. And then we saw the movie Giant with Elizabeth Taylor. And then we go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm doing a concert. This young lady comes up out of the audience and grabs my hand, holding on to my hand. She's saying, I'm Elizabeth. And I'm just hearing this name over and over again. So and then I asked Carol about writing a song. He said, yeah, if it's good enough. So I go to the hotel room that night. I have two of those tape recorders. I have one of the Walkman, two of those Walkman tape recorders, and they were on cassette. And I go in the bathroom because there's good echo in the bathroom. There's a reverb.
Good reverb.
So I'm in the bathroom and I sang it through. and played it. And then I turned the one recorder on and I sang into it again to put another part on it. And then I turned them on again and back. So I kind of back and forth so I had the harmonies on that tape recorder so they could hear the harmonies. Cause I thought that would, if anything sold that song, it was going to be the melody and the harmonies.
Right.
And I had what I thought was a pretty cool word because all these alarms were going off in my head. So I felt like it was God trying to tell me something. Hey, how many families do you know have someone named Elizabeth in their family? Not only one, but 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. It's a big name. If you can write a song and a melody that can go with that, then you may have something.
Right.
And sure enough, when I hit play on that thing and it was on the bus and they sat there and they were kind of like, well, yeah, that's going on our first record with you. That's going to be our first. And it was on the Today record. It was a #1 song. I won Songwriter of the Year for that song. And it was the Song of the Year. 1984 in country music.
I mean, so here's my first attempt at writing songs. It's nothing like yours, by the way, Jimmy. I didn't write Elizabeth when my first. I don't even remember the first song I wrote, and it's probably a good thing I don't remember. I'm sure it's terrible, but so I mean just in itself, just that there alone. If you didn't do anything else, if you just said, you know what, I'm done. I'm good, guys. You guys go ahead. I'm good. I'm done. I mean, you have an amazing thing. So now you're out. You're out. You are part of the Statler Brothers. You are the guy. You're singing all the high parts and you're playing. You're doing your thing. So now are you all writing? Did they all write, or was it just a few of them, or just you, or how?
Harold and Don. And we know what's weird is we never really wrote that much together. And so I would take them songs that I'd written. After that, I was like, what do I do now? I took them a song called My Only Love, which that song was like probably the 4th song that I'd ever written. And it was a #1 song. And then on the next album, I took them Too Much on My Heart. Again, it was a #1 song. And then it was after that, it was More Than a Name on a Wall, which was, I always say these songs that God gave me. Meanwhile, I was writing a lot of other songs in between that. I was writing a lot of junk, really, to be honest with you. I wrote a lot of trash after that. But these little jewels would kind of come to the surface.
Absolutely.
Every once in a while. And I knew that those were good songs when I took them to them. And I was like writing these songs by myself, except for More Than a Name on a Wall, I co-wrote with a friend of mine named John Rimmel up in Virginia. Mm-hmm. And, but these were songs these are little God things that saw their way to where I felt like I was there for a reason. I just knew that I was there. I knew I was there for, whether it was to keep the Statler Brothers going or whatever it was.
Right.
God meant to be there, and God meant for these songs to find their way. And I couldn't explain any of that. I look back on it. More things happened to me by accident than I could ever plan on purpose. I don't know how these things happen.
Well,
I just know I'm a thankful person who doesn't know how I got where I got, because there's so many people much more talented than I am. Sometimes you need a reason for things, That's like before I wrote the song, I didn't have a reason to write. I was learning other people's songs. I had no idea that whatever's going into me was going to come out of me one day.
Right.
It was these influences were going to come out. And even though I was in country music, I think I had a lot of influence of different kinds of music coming out of me.
Sure.
And it took the Statler Brothers into another, more of I was a big fan of the Statler Brothers in the first place.
Right.
Big fan of the nostalgia, big fan of the history, big fan of Lou DeWitt's writing, Don's writing, and Harold's writing. Bed of Roses, come on, man. Class of 57.
Yep.
What can you say about that stuff?
Right.
And I didn't write that kind of thing. I wrote more of a contemporary, I guess, sound, but it took us into the 80s.
Sure, absolutely.
Just of what was coming out. They knew they had to make some kind of a change to stay fresh without change, I guess you might say.
Sure.
Stay fresh without change of being who they were.
Right.
Very brilliant on their part, because they took a little country boy from Nelson County, Virginia, that never had nothing. I probably never would have had nothing, and took a chance on me.
Right.
And said, hey, and then in a lot of ways, they made it easy for me because they're so professional and they're so good at what they do. They really made it easy for me. I just had to just do what I did and got to write some songs, and people were looking for something. They wanted the Statler Brothers to continue. They wanted the Statler Brothers to be successful. I did. I wanted it to be successful, and so that's why and how it came to be. And I think it was God guiding all of it, and I still feel that right today.
Well, I believe, I 100% believe that, and I don't think anything but happens. It's not happenstance. Does that make sense? It just things happen for a reason, and good or bad. I mean, I don't think. I think God gives you things that He'll give you things, and it might not be, what you think when you get it. And then later you'll find out, oh, hey, that was why I did that, or that's why this happened. And absolutely, I feel the same way about my music career and things. The way I started, and I did the 6 nights a week, 4 and 5 hours a night. I did that, for years, and you go into that, then you get a shot, you get your break, you get your thing, and you make the best of it.
Right.
And so okay, so we're touring with the Statler Brothers. We're doing our thing, and now the Statler Brothers are now. And I've heard a lot of different things of how they it was okay. We're going to do our show. They had the Statler show, so you guys had the television show, and then. Was it them kind of backing off touring? Did they not want to tour as much, or So how did it eventually just kind of end, if you will?
Yeah, and it went into start doing a TV show in the early about 1990, and from that they were writing the show and doing everything. So we went from like doing 120 dates a year to maybe doing 20 to 40, maybe. Mm-hmm. Because of the TV show. So a lot of changes were happening right in there, because I felt like they was kind of slowing down because, they're getting older, and I kind of felt like, well, at some point here, they're probably going to say, this is over, Jimbo, and guess what? You got to do something. And I wasn't expecting it as soon as it did happen, but up until the show, I figured as long as the show would go on, we would stay in the business. Right. Once the show was over, I figured we'd phase out. But it was going strong for 7 years. It was #1 cable television show on TNN.
Yep.
So things were going really good. All of a sudden, we hear TNN's being bought out by CBS. They're taking over. So we're thinking, okay, well, they want to have a meeting at some point. And so Harold and Don wrote the TV show. They had it all together. We're cruising. We're doing really good. Everything's looking really good. They have another TV show written for the next year. TV shows written for the next year. So we go into Nashville, sit down to have a meeting with CBS after they bought TNN. Harold and Don walks into the meeting with their briefcases and full of all the shows that have been written. And they set the briefcase down, sit down, and the people from CBS says, hey, we're going to make a long story short here. We're going to tell you all we're not going to do the show. We're cutting the show. We're not going to. So Harold and Don never said another word. They just got their suitcase up, briefcases, and walked out.
Right.
We felt like they were trying to run country music out of Nashville. They were trying to shut it down.
Sure.
And it really did seem that way for a long time. It turned into basically. They just run every show out, and we had a great show going. I mean, it was #1 cable television show.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You used to watch it all the time.
So we felt, and they felt like, man, it's just kind of it. We're going to tour a little bit more, and then they did, and then that was about 1998. I guess we went into touring again, which we were picking back up show. Probably went up to started doing about 60 to 80 dates a year.
Right.
And then we toured until it was 2002, January 2002. They called a meeting with me and to come in and said, "Hey, Jimmy, this is the October the 26th in Salem, Virginia will be our last day. This will be it for the Statler Brothers."
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "Well, what are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I don't know how to do anything else." I said, "I've got to figure something. I've got to." I had a dream about my dad a couple of years before that, actually. My dad came in this dream and told me that basically he said, "You're going to be on your own. You got to get ready." And
Wow.
I was such a real dream. I mean, I had tears in my eyes. I was holding my dad around the waist when he walked through this door with a big light, and he came
wow.
through and he said, "I bet you never thought you'd see me again, did you, son?" And
Wow.
and I ran over and grabbed him, and I was holding on to him, and I was crying, and I could feel his hand on my back, and I was saying I was sorry for all these things that I had done in my life to my dad, and tearing the transmission out of his car to
Right.
just things. And he said, "Son, it's all right." He said, you're going to be on your own. You got to get out there and do your show." And I was standing backstage, and I was walking back and forth by myself and wondering why. And he told me in that dream. So when they asked me that, they said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I guess I'm going to continue on." And that's what I did. When they retired, I was working 11 days later. I was on the road working, opening shows for the Oak Ridge Boys.
Man, I mean, so, and like I said, I remember growing up with the Statler Brothers music and all that, and so I'm in Nashville. We're going to fast forward. So we're going to fast forward to 2013. I'm in Nashville during CMA Fest, right? And Mikey, it's me and Mikey and Colt. We're doing an acoustic thing right in front of the
Remember that?
Not the opera. Why can't I think? I'm fumbling. The Hall of Fame. We're doing the acoustic thing right in front of the Hall of Fame. And Mikey said, "Hey, I think Jimmy's coming out." Well, first I'm like, "Okay, who Jimmy? I don't know, Jimmy. All right, good. I'm glad Jimmy's coming." You know what I mean? And he said, "Oh, yeah." And I asked him a minute later. I'm like, "Jimmy, who's Jimmy?" He said, "Jimmy Fortune." And at first I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Wait a minute, what? Jimmy Fortune, like the Jimmy Fortune, like the guy." That guy's coming. And he said, "Absolutely, we're good friends," and blah, blah, blah. And he's telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, "Whatever, Mike, you don't know that guy." I'm thinking, okay, all right, here we go. So here we are playing, and sure enough, you and your wife were standing right there in front of me. Well, here's the thing. I'm and I don't know if every artist is like that, but I'm very, I get intimidated, because I'm confident in what I do, but there's a time when you see somebody that you respect and you really truly adore and have like adoration and admiration for those people, and it's kind of like, this guy has been there and done that. He's Hall of Famer and all this cool stuff, and written all these big hits, and he's standing there watching. Well, it's intimidating for me, and so I don't
know why the way you sang, my guy. I remember that night, that evening.
Yeah,
and I remember here. Of course, I kept up with you from the X Factor,
sure,
as well. And I was like, "Man, this cat can sing." My gosh! And then I was standing there watching you in that situation, and going, man, I was blown away, because live, right out there with the live outside of the Hall of Fame, you were just killing it, man. Well, and I was a fan. I was hooked.
Well, coming from you, it means a ton. So now we're fast forwarding a little bit long, a little bit later, and getting to know you. You come up, introduce yourself, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And we talked about the Opry, the Lewisburg Opry, that you would come play every once in a while in Lewisburg, Kansas, with my buddy Elijah Chastain. And it was kind of funny, because I'm like, I used to play, I did the Opry show and just this and that, and we talked about that, so we had a little bit in common there. But it was just the fact that you were so nice, and so like uplifting, and to me, I'm like, man, this guy, he knows me from Adam. He could, I'm just another person that Mikey's playing, a buddy of his is playing with. He comes see, it's kind of one of those things. But to me, it was truly like, oh my gosh, Jimmy Fortune. I'm friends with Jimmy Fortune. I am friends. I have his phone number. I would call him. You know what I mean? To me, and that's so cool because, as a country music, not just an artist, and forget me being an artist part of it, but as a country music fan, for me, growing up with the history of country music and the love that I have for our music, it means a ton. Like, I kind of tell it like when I stayed at your house that night, I wanted to sleep in your office because it had all the awards. Here's all these ACMs and CMAs, all these cool awards, and I'm just hoping that one of them I can maybe want to rub off on me, and I'll win something, and it'll be cool. You know what I mean? All the greatness in the room, but it means the world, man. It means the world, Jimmy, that you take the time and talk to me today, but so now, all that aside, now let's talk about what Jimmy Fortune is doing today, obviously with Mikey and Ben and Bradley. So how did that? So they call you? Did Ben call you? How did you get involved in the whole brotherly love thing?
Ben Issacs produced the last 4 projects of mine: Hits and Hymns, the classics, my God and Country CD, and so I teamed up with him about 5-6 years ago now, I guess, with Bill Gaither and that organization. It's been a great marriage. I mean, it really has. I mean, we just get along so good. Well, we talked about not just me being solo. He talked about, and I talked about too, maybe putting together some voices, maybe a quartet one day, and seeing what we could come up with. Well, Ben really, he kept working on it. He kept thinking about it. And then of course, we knew Mike, and Mike was so talented. Mike Rogers is just one of the most talented people in the world.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I came to this town 16 years ago, met Mike Rogers, totally fell in love with the man because he is that talented, as you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so then years later, I meet Bradley Walker. Of course, I'm a big fan of his anyway, seeing him on TV, seeing him on the Gaithers. I finally met him. And then Ben starts talking about Bradley and about, hey, why? Maybe you, me, Bradley, Mike, maybe we could get together sometimes and just see what we come up with.
Yes, sir. And
we got together at Ben's house one night and started throwing songs out there because the Gaithers were the organization, the company was interested in us doing something. And so we put together some songs and everything. We went down to the to where their offices are in Brentwood down there, and we sang some songs for them. And they just were like, "Man, we really need to do this." And this was a brainstorm and a baby of Ben's for sure.
Right.
Ben has always been our fearless leader. And so we heard the harmonies, and we heard that we loved each other so much.
Right.
And the respect for each other was there, and not just the singing and the blend and everything, but it was our love and respect for one another.
Sure.
When people hear it, I think you hear that. I think you feel that. I think you, in the DVD, you definitely see it. And so people have really, this thing's gone all around the world. I mean, it's gone all, we get mail from these little teeny little places you never heard of saying They love brotherly love, and they love when we look at each other and we smile and we laugh, and they love the songs and they love the harmony. I mean, it's another God thing in my life that these guys, we truly love each other, and it's a big blessing. It really is. And I get to feel like I'm almost got my brothers back again in a way.
Right. Right.
We just lost Harold back in April. He passed away last year.
Yeah.
And I miss him very much. And he was just bigger than life. And people are getting older. I'm getting older.
Right.
I can't believe these guys want me in the band, in the group, because I'm getting older too. But
yeah. Listen, it doesn't matter how old you are. The effortless singing that you do, to me is second to none, my friend. It is, in fact, it's kind of funny. So. Back to me loving country music and the tradition and of country and all that stuff. But when you sing the Eagles tune that you guys recorded on that project, it was like you were meant to be part of the Eagles. Like you were supposed to sing that song. You know what I mean? And then when you sing Crying, I'm like, okay, so all right, well. I guess he was supposed to record Crying too, because it fits. Does that make sense? I mean, I'm not even kidding.
Well, it's just like with you when you sing a song. To me, the songs that you sing, you make it yours. A singer is a singer, but an artist is an artist, and an artist will take something that is already there, and he will make it his own.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Sure. And that's what you do with a song too, as well. And so, I always say that there's a lot of singers out there in the world. There are singers that sing and do everything and do all the tricks and all. But when you mix what your voice is or your instrument,
right,
and you run it through not just to your hands, you run it through your heart.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
You run it through your heart, and it has to go through your heart to me to come out and be something that's living and something that people can really relate to.
Yep.
There's no machine in the world that can take that and make it the magic that your heart. If you run it through your heart,
absolutely,
it's going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
That's what I've tried to explain to people, even the people that come along and sing with me on the road. We all connect, and if you're not having fun, if you're not loving what you're doing, it don't happen.
100%.
You can't make it. You can't just make something and not. But I have enjoyed my musical career, and I'm actually enjoying music now more than I ever have in my life.
Well,
and you know what? The thing of it is the more every day, the more I learn, the more I learn that I realize I don't know.
I'm not very smart, Jimmy. So I learn stuff every day, and I realize how dumb I really am most of the time. Well, listen, man, I'm super stoked about the Brotherly Love project for you guys, and to me, like I said, it just fits. The whole thing just fits. And I know when you guys go out and you tour this Brotherly Love thing, that I'll be the opening act. Somehow, somewhere, some way. I'm gonna hide on the bus. I'm just gonna hide in the bus. You won't even know I'm there. You're like, what?
We've got to get this COVID thing over with so we can do some shows together, man.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Man, life is not going to be the same until I can hear Tate Stevens sing.
Well,
I can tell you that.
I tell you,
because you got the passion, you got the love, you got the talent. And you're a good man, Tate Stevens. You're a good man, and I appreciate you, brother. I really do.
I appreciate that. And listen, man. Again, thank you for taking your time and talking with us. This, the podcast thing is brand new to me, but I'm having fun with it, and I get to talk to my friends and see people I hadn't seen in a long time. So
let me tell you, you do a great job at it, man. There ain't many people do as good a job as you do at this stuff. You're natural, son. I think you got something going myself.
Well, everybody says I talk too much, so this is something maybe I can do. I can talk all the time. So anyway, all right, Jimmy. Well, I appreciate your time, sir, and we'll see you down the road, I'm sure, and I'll see you soon. I'll be in town. I'm sure Mike, you'll have me doing something soon. So
when you do, let me know so we can get together.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, sir. Love you, and take care of yourself.
Love you too, buddy.
All right.
God bless.
Yep. All right, guys, thanks for listening. That's episode number 3 with my buddy, Mr. Jimmy Fortune. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. He's so awesome. Guys, next week, we're going back to the 1990s, probably, in my opinion, the best era of country music, at least for me. And we're going to talk to my buddy, Mr. Roger Carson, big-time radio personality here in town. Yeah, so check it out. Give us a 5-star rating. If you haven't rated it, give us a 5-star rating. And leave us a review. And
speaking of reviews,
let's read some.
Yeah.
How about that? All right, we have one here from Steve E5672. Real good. No, I mean real good. That's awesome. And from Good Stuff, it's a Rick.
Well, the subject line was good stuff, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, from Good Stuff. I don't know. It just doesn't say. But anyway, give us a big Ric Flair. Woo! Fun listening from a great buddy who did real good. Keep it up. All right.
Awesome.
Well, that's awesome. I appreciate it. And one from Dr. Malachi O'Brien. Man, it says, just looking forward to all Tate is going to talk about in this podcast. It'll be authentic and valuable. Appreciate it. So, guys, Listen, we're going to read some. Every week we'll read some different reviews. So leave us one if you want it read, and we'll try to get to it.
Yeah, we also have from Ken Smithers. He says, "This is great. Love to hear the X Factor story." So it's about the X Factor episode.
Oh, cool.
And can't wait to hear more about your concerts. Who would you love to work with and sing with? Hope to see some more video clips from the podcast to show on the YouTube page. Great job, Tate.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Ken. We appreciate it. And so, like I said, we got one more.
Yeah,
one more.
All
right.
One more on the docket.
Golly.
No, man.
All
They're
right.
just flooding in this week.
Flooding in.
It's from Connie Koken. She says, "Loved it, Tater."
Oh,
short and
awesome.
sweet.
Awesome. Well, Connie, we appreciate that. AJ and I, we're working awful hard down here in the old studio. I guess
in the pod dungeon.
In the pod dungeon. That's the name of
That's
it right
the
now.
name?
That's
the pod dungeon.
We're in the pod dungeon. So anyway, guys, remember, subscribe, give us a 5-star, and give us a review, man. We'll read them.
Yeah, we'll read them.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Ain't this a sweet life?
Hey guys, thanks for listening. Want to ask a question for a future episode? Well, hit us up on Facebook or Twitter with hashtag SweetLifePodcast. And be sure to give us a 5-star rating and hit that subscribe button. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to stay up to date on the latest news and information for the Sweet Life Podcast. And we'll see you next time.